Welcome back to another sweet week of scalping stuff. And man, we're loving this. We're going to be wearing our elbows out, patting ourselves on the back for some of those plays we've made, and reviewing some of the stuff from last week that we had. We've made some killer moves. Starting kind of with the gorilla in the room, and then we kind of predicted a bit of this dip, and then it didn't quite hit the target. I was looking to grab some at like 105. It just didn't quite play out, but got pretty damn close. We were looking for some outflows, and I know it was a little reluctant to say on the leveraged ETF, but it was kind of in the cards for breaking this LZ and running back down for a reversion trade. And we knew that 117 was kind of the key area there to look at, and then I'd love to grab some at 105. Didn't quite hit, but hey, 117. We extended a little bit to like 115, maybe even dipped to 114. Close enough, man. And horseshoes and hand grenades and stock charts kind of play into hand-to-hand situation. On NVIDIA, yeah, definitely our 800-pound gorilla. We had an earnings call on it. It drags a lot of the market with it, so were able to make some plays.
Not today.
Throughout the market. But yeah, today it's kind of like, well, easy earnings candle reversion. And scalp as you will, and then we just wait for the inflows and start to trade the trend. So that's probably been pretty good on the ETF side. I mean, you've probably seen a little uptick back into some inflow, I'm sure.
We actually saw pretty nice inflows into the long yesterday. We've had some inflows so far this morning, but my guess is those are from after hours or maybe from Asia. Typically, we don't see the U.S. inflow numbers start to hit until 2 o'clock.
Gotcha.
But my guess is you're going to see people buy the dip, and I would not be shocked if this turns red to green today. I mean, speaking of Kramer, Kramer put out something saying don't buy the dip. So,
right.
I mean, that was probably good for about 4% or so, cutting the loss in half. I love undercutting rallies of big moving averages. We got an undercutting rally of the 50-day here. So, I mean, I'd be a buyer.
Same here. And the BTFD crowd definitely came through. And then, I was going to point out, there's your Kramer bar. Return to mean. Hello.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he said, don't buy the dip. Well, what do? We do the opposite of Kramer and we become successful. No, I'm just kidding. We've said that before too many times. We know what's up. We don't even have to think it anymore. We just trade the damn chart, and technical analysis is kind of what we do, and that's how we maintain success. So yeah, I was looking for that reversion target. I would love to have it a little lower because, I was looking for the full reversion back here to like 105, 110 area, somewhere in that neighborhood. Would have been great, but it didn't overshoot too far with the earnings call, and it did pretty much nailed the 117 and then some, gave us almost 114, gave us 115. Close enough. And, I was scalping NQ in this move a little bit. It did move the market a little bit with it. And then I didn't go into NVIDIA to buy some longs because I had a limit order sitting at 105. It just never got filled. So I'm like, I'll sit tight. But I think the BTFD crowd is definitely going to come through and take this back through the liquidity zone here as planned and eventually finish our unfinished business with this whole measured move up here. Reversions typically happen first, and then once we get into the business of running this entire trend to the upside beyond, I think we're pretty much setting up for that. So we'll wait for it to breach. And I'm going to drag this down. I always split the mean between the high and low in the consolidation area, and that gives us a better idea of where our targets are. So melt through our 86.6 fib, which is about here, about a quarter move, and then get through the liquidity zone up here at the high, previous high at 140, 141, and eventually half a move is like 146 for extension. I can see that. I think long term NVIDIA is just going to keep on crunching. Eventually they're going to absorb this exorbitant spending in AI development just like everyone else. It just kind of plays out. It's market structure at its finest. Playing that into QQQ, and I'll go into our QQQ analysis real quick. I've kind of switched out a SPY and ran with Q because I like the price actions a little smoother. We've had this descending channel.
Yeah, I like it. I like it better. It's another undercutting rally at the 50-day.
Yes.
That to me is a better kind of spot than where SPY is.
And for me, it's a seasonal thing sometimes. I've noticed it around this time of year. It just tends to be a lot less choppy with Q than it is with SPY for a good 3 to 4 months span in this time. And I think probably through the end of October, we should see Q running smooth and SPY being choppy. It's just kind of how it is. I'm looking for our breakout, and we have our MM from the second impulse in our descending channel here. We'd love to point these out on how to trade them. Right down to a 5-second chart. I can practice these all day long and then play them out on the big picture when I'm looking at a 4-hour chart here. Easy qualifier move. We did breach it this morning, but then we pulled right back for a reversion. And if we close the day above this level, I think we'll have a pretty good shot of swinging up into our next LZ here. Around 480 to about 482 is welcome for an expansion move from this channel break. And heck, right now it's pulling right off that reversion target. So I'm looking to see if we get a good long swing out of this thing, and maybe an overnight would be in order to pick that up. We do have some news coming out in the middle of the day. One of the Feds is chipping his teeth at the podium, so to speak, and that always makes a little bit of market moves. But if we start to see our midday setup for a good swing, we could have a full-on move. So I kind of like it. Any other plays on Q? I mean, debit spreads are king on this thing, of course, because you can limit your risk. But being in this area, we need to wait for this range to break before we really get moving here. So take a little caution with that. And I wouldn't say take necessarily a neutral position, but be ready for a momentum swing above or below. Pretty simple. Either we reject here and get a reversion trade back to the middle of this junk and hit this 470 pivot, or we swing high and hit 482 and move on. So that's kind of
and
Sanctuary cities are releasing dangerous illegal immigrant criminals onto Ohio streets with Senator Sherrod Brown.
The 2-day sell-off we saw kind of got rid of any of the overbought issues the market was dealing with. And now that Nvidia's out of the way, we do have jobs coming up, but I mean the Fed's in an easing cycle. Don't fight the Fed.
Nope. You can never, what did I say? You can never out-trade the Fed's liquidity. And that takes me back to probably my favorite Warren Buffett quote ever, is the fact that the market can remain irrational much, much longer than you can remain liquid.
Not Warren Buffett. That's John Maynard Keynes, I think.
You might be right. Maybe Buffett quoted him.
Yeah.
I'll have to research that. I got to know now. I won't lose sleep over it, though, because the statement holds. The market,
statement holds.
The market can definitely be irrational much longer than you can be liquid. I'll have to correct my quote. And if you have a comment about that to confirm that, feel free. Chime in. Give us comments. We love feedback.
Yeah, fact check us.
Absolutely. Fact check it.
Community notes.
I won't put it on Facebook because I know I'll get scalped for fact checkers there. Anyway, Zuckerberg was in the news again, by the way, and I don't want to get into it, but I don't even look at Meta anymore. I just look at other things. Yeah, in spite of it being news.
I bought Meta yesterday, so far so good.
So I'll hit your list first.
All right, so and really what I like to look at is themes. So there's the AI theme, and with that you've got the leaders, but then you've got the ancillary names. And the other, the second theme I really like, I mean, AI to me is number one. Number two are the weight loss drugs. So on the AI side, obviously there's Nvidia, but the one I just bought the dip on this morning is Pure Storage, PSTG. So they're a data center. And, the data centers you need to house all the servers, they reported crap earnings, down 13%, but nice undercut and rally at the 200-day moving average. I had a long-term position in it, and I just doubled it up on this dip.
Nice work. I like the setup. And we've been tracking this for a while. And lo and behold, it came right to a known LZ. And that's where the BTFD crowd was waiting. and just jump on the bandwagon with them. Those guys are pretty smart sometimes. No, most of the time. But yeah, ideal. I like the descending channel. I like the regression line play, which is coming up here. And then we could probably see this thing continue on. If I see a descending channel like this, I can eyeball it, find a middle, split the difference, throw a line on your chart. Why not? We've done this on the bull side. We can do this on the bear side and then revert to it on the bull side again. So I like the trade. Primary short term.
Did it undercut this low, 49.32? All right, it didn't undercut the August low, but it came close. But I'd rather an undercut and rally if the 200-day anyway.
You know, you get this gap down, you get a nice doji close for the daily candle here. I like the setup. You know, reversions right back to regression about $54.80 to $55 for short term, and then long term this thing could continue to trend on. And the weekly chart shows a pretty strong trend established here. Our diamond pattern way back in the day when we were still beating on Kramer came true. We found our lines, and we blew away this 1-for-1 target and nailed a 2-for-1 out of this. If I draw the box up here, closed that bar right there, came back for reversion, and here we are. Follow through works out good. I don't F around when I say that our accuracy level is about 94% average for the entire time we've been doing this, whether we're beating on Kramer or doing our own thing like we're doing now. We got some accuracy for you. So tell your friends, tune in, and we'll help you guys, wade your way through the turmoil in the markets these days and be ahead of the emotional crowd and start being a technical crowd. That's where the money is. Anyway, yeah, I like the setup. I think we can probably get the quick reversion out of this thing and definitely break out beyond. And then if this channel, it holds true, and it's just typical. I always make my regression lines white so they stand out to me. Angular resistance is the next play, and that follow through would take us for a target of about $60.50 for the midterm. And then long term, I like to go for the reversion swing, and I'll usually take the second impulse on the channel, measure that up. And if we do get a breakout, your first target's easy. So you break the angular resistance, you go to like 63. Next target would be like 65. And then you get just under the 86.6 fib of the previous high. There it is. So pretty accurate way to find your targets really fast. Just draw it out. I like this one. You were also talking about couple therapeutic companies and then an energy company that we actually both went into that was highly successful. I'll save that one for last. We know which one that is. But
yeah. So the other theme I really like is the weight loss drugs. And philosophically, I hate it.
yeah.
To me, if anyone has not seen Tucker's interview with Callie Means and then follow up with Callie and his sister Casey, I would highly recommend it. But he had one great quote where he said, the obesity epidemic is not because of an Ozempic deficiency,
right.
Which I wholeheartedly believe. But if Americans can take a shot, they're going to do it. So it's a theme I play, not as heavy as I do AI, because you could see, RFK part of the government, and, he's not a fan of any of this stuff. So remains to be seen. But while it's there are a couple I just added. So, Lilly and, Novartis obviously are the 800-pound gorillas, and I trade those.
Sure.
I just started trading Viking BKTX. Choppy chart, but I kind of like the spot here. Like everything else, it got crushed in August, and it started looking a little bit better. It's got to get above that 70 area, but it's a name that constantly comes up as kind of one of the ancillary, next ones to maybe go in the whole weight loss drug thing.
I like it. And long term on a weekly chart, I'm just drawing it out now. That's a good setup. And let me finish it up. Second impulse. Binary MM. Qualifier is already breaking angular resistance. And then we'll get to the daily.
It's a volatile one. I mean, we filed for a 2x single stock on it, and our quant just came to me today. He's like, Matt, I can't make the numbers work. Keep trying.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's one of those where if it's a little bit too volatile, it can be hard to run a leveraged on, but I get the idea.
Well, it's not hard to run a leverage on. We've got to make the numbers work for the SEC.
Right.
And if it's way more volatile than anything out there, like on the planet, it gets difficult to make that math work.
It does. I mean, point in case at first was the Tesla ones, but then they swung together and things worked out. So that was just the right amount of consolidation, I like to call it, on Tesla to get that plan in effect and then prove yourself to the SEC and make that work. So that was cool that worked out. Typical market structure for price analysis on Viking here. I do like it. It did have a nice badass breakout bar, went right through the angular resistance. That always becomes support afterwards, and we did reject half of our impulse measured move, which was from back here. Came back, tested the angular. I think we got a Morningstar reversal in order here on a daily, and if we close a bar right at about $65 today, we could be in business for a follow-through to run for short-term target of about $72.50. And extension would probably take us even higher, maybe go for this level here at about $78. So I like the setup. Technical analysis looks good on it. It is volatile. It is a bit choppy and hard to deal with, but all of the math works out on my end. I like the setup. Just got to break the resistance area, and we're in business. Very good setup. And
along the same lines, GPCR, Structure Therapeutics. This is a smaller one. I mean, I think Viking could be the next Lilly NVO. This one's further down the list, but for kind of a speculative type of position, you see it had a massive move at the beginning of June, then came down, it undercut some of the May lows, has come back above, and it's holding the 50-day.
Right. I was kind of comparatively looking at market structure, and as choppy as it is, you can still see it. So you have your big old hype wave, takes it to its all-time highs. You get your capitalization, runs down. Mean reversion's done here. First consolidation. Some people call this the short squeeze. This is just a reversion play, and then some. Comes back, finds supports, accumulates again, and then you get resistance levels, and they're pretty easy to spot. So if you kind of look at where some of these candles line up, there's an easy to spot resistance pivot area right there, and it just broke it. So if we consolidate here and run for a reversion, easy trade target, just follow the next candle. $44 on a breakout from current resistance. You can do this a second way as well. You can go into the daily, and you can take this whole structure here. I like to draw an angular on it. You get the same target results anyway. And I'm going to include the wick on this one. I rarely do that. This is the wick. Angular broken, tested for support, accumulation's nearly complete. And a third way to do it, measure it to the mean, and it gives you a breakout target. Roughly the same. So the extension is first the pivot, 44 and some change. Second, if it goes a full reversion of this trade here, it's pretty easy to see the measured move lines up to 46.50. Easy targets. I like the setup. This one's pretty good. Watch consolidation here. This will be a critical support area. I'll make that red. And yeah, liking the name, liking the setup, and we just need to wait for this to consolidate and break out. If it continues to run beyond this high, it's a good setup. And this is really something I teach every day, being able to take a glance at the chart, plan your trade, and then trade your plan. If things fall apart, you don't have to take the trade, but you know where to look. And if it does fall apart, move on to your next plan. And that's why we have many charts in the watch list. We always are looking at what's breaking out, what's making the moves we like, get on board with taking the trend entry on those and trade them. If it doesn't materialize, if it fails to break out of certain levels, walk away and look at something else. It's really that simple. But this trade plan looks solid so far, so I'm going to say we're likely to go bullish on this. It has a pretty good probability of finishing the move. Just watch this area right around 39.5 and see where we go from there. Good stuff. There was a couple of follow-throughs or follow-ups we got to do on your picks from last week. We liked TEM. That was pretty sweet. Didn't go for our bearish breakdown follow-up. It hit right to the mean, tested it for support, went right back to the regression line today in the open, and came back.
I bought yesterday's dip, so we'll see. It's sitting right at the right under the 10-day. I'd like an undercut and rally here.
Would be sweet. And as long as it doesn't follow through with running beyond this level here for your support. So if you're looking at your stops, they're going to be right there at about 57.80 or so. I think we see a pretty good play here. And I'm going to keep an eye on this one because I might just buy today's dip and run this resistance here about 59.90. And if we start to see this thing swing to regression here, short-term target running into tomorrow with some angular, maybe 61.20. A breakout beyond that would take us pretty easily to 62.75-ish. And again, if we're following our price structure here and it starts to run beyond this angular resistance, just take the box you made, drag it over here. There's your qualifier for a bullish breakout. You got half and whole. So I like this setup. Keep an eye on it, and I think we're going to know by about midday or mid-afternoon here whether this is going to hold this area and run back to regression or not pretty quick. So setup is there. Keep an eye on this one, and the trade plan is looking bullish beyond this point. And then if it fails, you'll be taking your profit and cutting out with a profit and waiting for the next setup. Everyone else will be, okay, maybe I'll wait and look at something else until this follows through. So cool setup. And then the major win, and this is where you can certainly sprain your elbow. NNE, man, out of the park. Good entry on that. You caught the dip perfectly on that one. And we're looking at this structure for a reversion trade pretty easy. It hasn't made that reversion just yet, and we're set up to follow through. We're consolidated, and we've got.
Remember this, so this is back to the AI theme,
right.
And this is a longer term play. AI is going to need so much power that, they're going to need everything. And so, nuclear is going to have to be on the table. Also, you've got the possibility that, the big utilities are going to come in and buy the smaller nuclear companies. So, this is a long-term play for me. Unfortunately, right now, they don't have options.
Right.
I mean, I'm up 30% on my shares, which sort of pisses me off because I'd be up like 200% on options.
And this was follow through from your entry down here 2 weeks ago. And
I'm up. Where did I got in at 860. Nice.
Yeah, it was right off that break, and it was a pretty ideal setup for a reversal down here. And then, of course, nobody really looks at this as like a reversal, but I do, because we had the first impulse bounce. Right. So if you're looking at this as a general trend, if you wanted to put your head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders thing on it, there's your left shoulder, there's the head, there's the right shoulder, there's your neckline, there's your break. Followed through beautifully, consolidated right into a little bit of a reversion or a support test. I'm going to draw a pivot there. Right in that area. Wicked it, bounced right off. This long-term play is looking better and better, and I think we should follow through with the unfinished business, at least in the midterm, run back for like 13 and a quarter, maybe even extend up here to like 15 and a half. And then the reversion, of course, is like 1680 up here on a daily, looking at splitting this trend in half. So all good, looking bullish, and you got a killer entry on it. Like I said, you knocked it out of the park. You can sprain your elbow on this one. And, so far it's working out really good. Maybe watch a short term for those of you who might be late to this party. If we're breaking too far above this angular, we should follow through. And if we, hold this area and consolidate for the day, it just gives you another opportunity to watch it tomorrow for a tap off that support of $11. Maybe give us a follow through. So that's kind of our make it or break it line as an angular here. So Worst case scenario, we adjust things to where we start looking at support here. We can draw the wedge and get back to regression. It can happen, but long-term play for Matthew. I wish it had options. I would be a long-term in it too, because then I could just wheel trade this thing and watch my cost basis basically dissolve. I've been running TNA and keeping a journal on it and sharing that pretty openly. And I've been showing a 3706 cost basis on TNA in the recent cycle of wheel trading it. I had been called away a couple times on this before, and my running total is much lower, but my running total on the current swing for being back long the stock is cost basis of 3706. And that's just essentially what I do. I generate income on the options and take that income and weigh it against my cost basis. So when the stock pays for itself, or the ETF in this case pays for itself, and it's a free position, I just continue to generate income on the damn thing and don't care what happens to it. It can be, the zero sum way down the road, and it diminishes from management fees eating it up or whatever. Same scenario that I'm currently running on a couple of the T-Rex leverage ETFs. I'm running.
Love to hear it.
The NVIDIA one is getting together for me, and then the Tesla one's ongoing. So that's been working out great. And that's it. You start to just basically get a grasp of being able to be an option seller, and eventually the position pays for itself. You're just selling premium. Follow my name, pushing premium. That's how I roll. Oops, didn't get it on camera. There we go. I love this T-shirt. Thanks, Andy, over there at Mighty Soldiers Trades for making it for me. And I still have it. I'll still wear it, and I'll still sport it, and proudly give you a mention. Thanks again, man. Anything else on our list? I think we're good on your end. I added a few this morning that were pretty interesting too, but a different spectrum. I got in looking at Starbucks for a setup, and this just popped up on our breakout scanner, and it did break out yesterday. It broke out a range, and I'm looking for a pullback on this thing, and it's sort of following through today. I want to see it hold support at about 92.5, and then eventually give us a swing for a bullish trade to about 101.50 or 102.
You had a undercut and rally at the 10-day here.
In the weekly chart, same structure, descending channel, gave us a killer bull play. I think I called this out a couple weeks ago on this double bottom when we were looking at it, and boy, did that give us the goods, so to speak. This is our part of our 94% accuracy rating. This is it. That was a good call out. That was 2 weeks ago on our show here. And it went right to angular and then some, and it gave us the qualifier. So we had this measured move set up. This is what we were talking about last week on the thing. And then we set up, came to the mean, came back to test it for support. I think today we'll probably finish that test of support around 93 or 92.50, somewhere in that neighborhood, and then give us continuation to run for this next target, which is top of our box here, about 101.75, and maybe even extend to 86.6 fib of this wick. Takes us right to about 103 and 70, some change. So far, so good. Great trade. I'm going to sprain my elbow, pat myself on the back for this one. That was a good call. And, we just keep trading some home runs. Moving on, I've got another one that I kind of picked off of the breakout bot as well. And this one was a little bit interesting to me, although I don't know much about the company. RVLV, if you want to look at it. Revolve Group.
I know this one. Why do I know this one?
I remember we had talked about it before, and I think it was a Kramer mention.
No, I've traded this before. Hold on. Keep going. I'm looking these guys up.
Sure thing. So I pointed out a long time ago this wick back here, and this was just our liquidity zone for basic market structure. We got the hype wave. We got the capitalization. Haven't had a reversion yet. We've had basically a breakdown a little lower. First accumulation, this is the short squeeze, but it's really just a reversion trade right here. Broke down, gave us a reversion back to the middle of this range. It's found support, accumulated, and now it's broken this previous high, and it's accumulating now. So my outlook on this thing is if we hold accumulation at around 2280 or so, previous high, and we start to form a bullish setup, I think right up here to this liquidity zone, or at least the base of it, is a good outlying bull target, about $30.15. That's a hell of a trade. So keep an eye on this one. Short term, we did have a pretty major gap up from our earnings call here, and usually these will give half back. So in the short term, we may end up with a short. If we break this 22.87 level, we could have a good short for a reversion back to like 1950. And then if that's the case, you get both a bearish trade and then a dip buy opportunity. And as long as it holds this critical level at about 19.5 or so and accumulates, we do follow through and look for a break back to the 22.87 level and maybe a further accumulation and continuation in this. So this can be a really good swing trade stock, so to speak, where you get both bullish and bearish trades out of it. The option chain kind of sucks on it. The bid ask is too wide, so it's really not the greatest options trade on this thing. Or was I talking about another one? I forget if I looked at the options chain on this one. It was so fast to make this list this morning. Long story short, we do have two support areas, and we do have a pretty good outlook on this thing for long-term goals. Although I'm going to compare it to another one that I haven't mentioned. And this is one that played out beautifully before. Same structure. You get your accumulation, you break out. There was your key resistance area. This is Snapchat I'm talking about. Reversion trade was in, accumulated, went to the high again, came back down, found support at the 52 lows. Now we're looking for a dead cat bounce to revert to like 1190. Same deal. If this is the bad case scenario for what happens to RVLV here, we would expect that to come back and accumulate in this level. So if this fails to follow through with a breakout for the bulls, at least you get a good short out of it in the short term, and then the mean of the long term is look for a bullish swing out of this. So this will be a great swing trading stock. Keep this on your radar, and the setups are pretty easy to spot, and you can trade it both bullish and bearish and do very well. Next one I'm wanting to maybe spray my elbow on a little bit. CrowdStrike, man. Did you get into that one?
I have been in this one, but I'm not patting myself on the back for my entry. Let's just leave it at that.
Gotcha. Mine wasn't necessarily the best entry either, but I did catch the second half of this move. I did take some profit in this range, and then my next entry, I waited for it to come back through this reversion after a test. I should have got it here at 250, 150, but I didn't.
You know what? Actually, I'm only down 73% on my calls, so not as bad as I thought.
That's better than 100% down.
That is better than 100%. Yes.
You've retained something. As long as you got some time on them, it could finish a swing back to. I'm looking at like $300 for an outward target.
Yeah, no, I got another month to get back to 290.
You got plenty of time.
It's not that far away.
You'll at least get back to maybe a half loss or something like that. Depending on how much time decay is eating this thing. I know Theta's a bit high on CrowdStrike, so it's a careful one. But I can see that we do have a V bottom here after a steep sell-off, and came back through. I went and got long around this area. I could have got this. I wish I did, but back into it. I did take profit on the other swing. That's where I sprained my elbow a little bit. I waited. I knew it was going to likely be a profit-taking session, but I wasn't expecting it to go this low. I didn't have any markings down here. I had it down here. Long story short, I waited for it to get back above my pivot target and took the entry. And then I'm sitting pretty today, but I might take profit if it doesn't follow through above this bar here. And this is the daily bar. I'm going to watch for range. This morning, it looks like it wicked off of that and kind of broke back down. So I might just say, sit tight, wait for this to follow through. But if things get nutty, it's going to 305, baby. So watch this resistance area, and I think if we can break above 278 again and start pushing that 285 again, this thing could be just a rocket running back to 305. And it's set up to look pretty volatile, so stay tuned in this one. You might just break up a little profit on it if it goes up there fast enough. So good entry on me for an okay run. I wish I got the low. That was a hell of a dip. But I'm okay with it. And Matthew, I think you'll at least make a profit in the long run on that if you get the good run on that. Another one I want to mention before I mention the one I'm going to close with, and I'll admit I do have a little bit of I wouldn't say emotional attachment, but I like the company, and I'll get to that in a minute. But first, let's go with Apple. Apple's set up for a nice, easy play. Today, it went right to the pivot, right to that 232 line, and we know that is about the 86.6 fib of the previous high. We're sitting right at it. So far, looking bullish. I want to see follow through above that and run for our half target of about 240 in the outrun midterm. And then in short term, if this rejects here, we could see a quick reversion back to about 228.50. So the Bears are watching this too. And if we do breach above this 232.88 area, that's a weird pivot number, but man, it broke it by a few cents this morning and reversed. So keep an eye on this thing. Either it's going to give us a daily reversion trade, back to 229, 228, and then accumulate for a breakout, or it fails and goes for a short down to the bottom of the box. But
yeah, and you know my thoughts about Apple. I mean, they're poised to dominate AI.
Oh, yes.
Again, just imagine AI integrated into your iPhone.
Absolutely.
That's a game changer.
And this was the measured move we were watching. I think we talked about it last week and the week before. And, this accumulation was destined to break out. We pointed out some key areas, and I didn't mark them, but they are on these candles. It was just watch the range bar for a breakout. I think that's what we said, and went right to target. That 86.6 fib was pretty easy. So, yeah. I mean, follow through on this thing. If it breaks through here and we get some huge bullish momentum, half an is pretty easy. And a full it's a bit lofty at this point because that was already a fairly parabolic run from that V bottom. But, Apple's got the juice. So, yeah, I can see it hitting that eventually. So long term, looking, down towards end of October, we could see this break out above that 240 area and start to really run. So I'm liking Apple. I'm usually not much of an Apple trader, but
when's the last time I used that thing? When did it become a clothes rack? Did the clothes rack get more expensive?
All right. Last but not least, I had a great experience with this company, and man, I cannot get over the fact I had our family dog passed away, fairly recently, and these guys actually sent us flowers, and we didn't ask for anything like that. Chewy is the company I'm talking about. Great company to deal with from a personal experience. Technicals actually starting to look pretty good. Previous measured move
bounced off the 50-day there.
Absolutely. And it's running pretty good. I like it as a company. I personally like it. I do try to keep emotions out of trades, but this company's lovable, man. Come on. They're a pet company.
I mean, I cook for my dog, so I don't know, but I'll take your word for it.
I do too. I don't buy a bunch of kibble, but I love their toys. And, we have 2 new puppies in the house, so we bought a lot of toys.
There you go. I got a house full of toys, so I don't need any more.
Yeah. We had an experience with the puppy shredded one of the toys, and it looked like a bit of a manufacturer defect on this one. So, we got online with them and talked to them, and, they were like quick to respond and take care of us, make it right. They, sent us a new toy. And in reply, they said, give your dog Sirius a scratch behind the ears for us, because we bought some things for Sirius before. And we told them, well, sorry, but Sirius has passed away recently. And they're like, oh, my gosh, our condolences. And, 2 days later, they're sending flowers. I mean, flowers in a car.
That is amazing.
Absolutely. If they can keep that going, they're going to be, doing this and keep maintaining that kind of customer treatment, man. I mean, that is something that should be policy for every company out there, to be able to really establish some loyalty in that, and then stick with it. Don't just use it to build yourself up and then say to hell with that program. It's costing us too much money. If they stick to that plan, I think there's room for huge growth in this company. Whether you buy kibble from them or not, they take care of the whole gamut of pet supplies, and I really think they're going to go the long run on this thing. And I'm sorry to say, like Petco and PetSmart, the brick and mortar, if they don't adapt to this, Chewy's going to destroy them, hands down. So, take care of your customers, and especially when it comes to pets. You get people at their heartstrings when you take care of their pets, and that's
without a doubt.
And that's an awesome way to do business, as well as the technicals look good. I like the midterm trade setup on this thing. It did hit target and it extended above, but that's a nice high wave close on the daily. If we print a doji here today, the potential for short term is pretty good. I like to measure the previous bar and then give us a breakout target, half or whole, and it takes us right back to half of our box anyway for half. And then short term, we're looking for push target of about 31. If this breaks down and gives us a evening star play, okay, we can go and make a mean reversion. We can trade it back down here, but the technicals are looking fairly bullish for continuation in this pattern, and I think follow through is likely. I'm going to leave this dope on here and see if it follows through. Pretty easy trade plan. If it holds support in this area, we close a nice doji, and tomorrow we open up green and start to break out above the close of that doji. Great. We should see some bullish momentum take it to the short-term target. Midterm target for extension, if it continues to run, I like $33-$34. And then super long-term, way left, people. You've got plenty of pivot targets to return to. And this is market structure doing its thing. We saw the run down from capitalization. We saw a short-term, not quite a reversion, and then it broke down and failed. Of course, there's some more capitalization that was there. First accumulation, squeeze, second accumulation, and then we break out for reversion of this and somewhat above. This is our key area. And if we like this company, and this company is starting to show some signs of growth, and the technicals are lining up with it, outward target, about $39-$40 for the long term and slightly beyond midterm. So, looking into next year, I think this thing should start to trend. And then if you really want to get into perma-bull territory, if you really have faith in the company, and I don't like to, like I said, I don't like to put any sort of emotional attachment out there for any company. But if these guys keep doing business the way they are, I think there's a pretty good shot of going right into, this liquidity zone up here around $48-$50. Good chance of that if it follows through on this trend. So keep eyes on Chewy. I like Chewy. IPO day, I was there. I was actually kind of skeptical on it. I did take a nice short here, I'll admit. I did take some longs on here and ran up the big old hype wave trades, so to speak. I didn't follow it all the way to 120, but I got halfway there at about 62 and gave up. But I didn't short this. I just didn't care for it. It wasn't the greatest chart to trade. Now it's becoming a very tradable chart. So swing traders are going to start to keep an eye on this thing, and I think we're going to play around in these levels a little bit and start to maybe make some trend moves. So that's just my outlook on it. I like Chewy. Good company. Where am I at? Oh, I got to check comments. Nobody's commenting? We got people watching? Shoot us a ticker. We love giving feedback, and we love giving free technical analysis. Unlike calling into the Kramer show, we'll actually give you something you can work with instead of something you can guess at. So
yeah,
we love technical analysis. And if you've got something you're working with, feel free. Comment to us now live, or even stick us a comment in the video after production, and we'll respond to it. We'll give you a full breakdown. We don't care. We got nothing better to do. This is our life. We trade for a living. So here we are.
I actually do other things, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that too. Well, I mean, yeah, I've got 4 kids in the house, and one of my oldest is about to be an adult. One of my oldest is already an adult, and I'm helping all my kids, come up with business plans. 2 of my 4 kids are starting businesses here. One is going to be, basically swing trading cars, doing a little fix up on them. The other one is doing some bicycle service stuff. So, he's getting interested in opening up a bicycle service business, which is actually highly lucrative and highly in demand in my area. So mountain biking's big right now. Another one of my kids wants to go to med school and be a surgeon. Hey, that's a expensive route. That's why I look to raise capital to put that one through school. That's expensive.
Yep.
And then one of my other kids wants to get into marketing and advertising and stuff like that. So, hey, digital marketing is also still pretty big. I think AI is going to take a bunch of that off that space, but if you stay with it, it might be lucrative in the long run. So, trading has kind of changed my life, and it's also given me an ability to look further down the road and think ahead a lot longer and be able to mold that into my life. It's been awesome. It's been relaxing. Everybody's 20s, some of them become a bit of a hothead. I was a little bit, but I've discovered trading and being able to develop patience beyond anything, and being a family man develops a lot of patience. Here we are, where patience pays, and that's what we do. So,
Exactly.
Anyway, I think that's about it for the day. We got through that pretty quick. We had a lot to talk about. And anything else we're watching before we go?
No, that's about it. I'm just waiting to see if we can get red to green on NVIDIA. Running out of time.
Yeah, it kind of is, isn't it? Let's go back to that real quick before we go.
It hasn't really budged. Still down 3.4%.
Yeah. But I mean, it's done everything it needs to do. I mean, the earnings call, it gave us a nice clean 1-for-1 down. It gave us the reversion trade. It gave us the 86.6 fib to this first bar, close enough. And now we're accumulating. It'll eventually break. I'd love to buy it at 105, but I can wait patiently. And I know where the liquidity zone is. So if it breaks out bullish, I can take that swing too.
There you go.
Right on. I think we can wrap with that. Thanks again for joining us.
All right.
Catch us again next week. And, we could do the cliche thing and say like, subscribe, and all that happy crap. I'm not that kind of guy. Just tell your friends. We're here to help people. And the more we can help, the better we feel. So, give us an ego boost and tell your friends. Thanks again.